Hi, this is the first video in the Anti-Anxiety Toolkit, and this is the framework that really brings the techniques to life. When you watch this, you'll understand why this video is so important and why it's so important to me. Because at the root, there's two main states that shape and color all the other states that we experience in life. There's the rest and digest state, and this is a state that when you're in it, you're healing. Right? When you're in it, you're rejuvenating. When you're in this state, you're reducing inflammation and you're healing and clearing that. And when you're in this state, you have access to your prefrontal cortex. You have access to your higher functioning, so you can tap into your purpose, your identity, and channel that through you into the environment so you can live authentically. So this is why this state is so important. This is why all of these techniques are so important, because they're designed to work with your neurochemistry, your neurobiochemistry, to shift you into the rest and digest state easily. And the whole thing is, I see so many people that want to be their best selves, that want to find out who they are even, right? And I realize this is the most important step, is to help shift them into this so they can have more time spent in the prefrontal cortex, more time spent having access to who they are, more time spent having access to your unconscious so you can begin to cultivate that inner relationship, knowing your language, knowing which metaphors resonate for you, what imagery resonates for you, how that all communicates inside, right? That's what this is about. But taking a step back, this is the rest and digest state. Now the other state is the freeze, fight, and flight response. And I like to group anything that gets in the way of us living our best self over there. Does that make sense? That's over there. So the biggest factor of which state we're in is if we have trust and security. When we have trust and security, then we can be in the rest and digest state. So I was thinking, how can I help people have that? And I thought, community, right? It's a safety net. It's a safety net for anyone that feels themselves going that way. When you catch yourself, you can come here and have that safety. And when you have that safety, then you have some trust. And when you have access to some trust and you have a way to get to it, it can begin to build ever so slowly and gradually, but it will begin to grow, right? Because it all starts with the spark, but we'll get there soon. So this community is kind of like a placeholder. It's like a safety net to catch people. However, another big part of trust and security is being in control of your own power, right? It's being in control of your destiny, being in control of your mind, body, of all these things that you have power over, right? That's a big part of trust and security. And the more you use these things and you get feedback and you focus on what's different, how you're growing, the easier it is to grow, the more trust you're building because you're focusing on those things that build trust, right? Seeing yourself progress, seeing yourself do things, seeing yourself take consistent action, all those things build inner trust. And now this is where the roadblocks come up. This is how they came up. Basically, it's about action. So these roadblocks give you something to do. It's also about shifting from that state into this state so you have access to your prefrontal cortex. So that's what these roadblocks are designed to do. So now you have action to take, so that way you can notice you're taking action and that you can build some trust. And then you're using a technique that shows you it works, that shifts you into this rest and digest state. So you're building trust now this way because you see these techniques work and you feel that relief, and now you're over here. And you're building trust with your unconscious because your unconscious knows that you have this power. And you know that you can figure it out, right? That you got it. So that's why it's so important to put those roadblocks. Now I want to talk about how this kind of works, these creating programs inside. Basically, your unconscious is always trying to keep you safe. It's always trying to protect you. So your unconscious is always tracking all the information around you at any given moment, all the signals, all those things. Now imagine your unconscious is trying to keep you safe and it sees something in the environment. What it'll do is divert some energy to create a system inside your brain. Neurons will connect and wire together to create a program inside that's designed to track that thing. Now, these neurons enable these systems inside to begin communicating through sensations. And imagine as they're doing research through the sensations, it comes up that this thing makes the system feel unsafe or insecure, right? So now the system starts going this way. And I want to just continue with the metaphor, because this is where you would put up a roadblock and shift into rest and digest state. But for the metaphor, what happens is those sensations begin to get stronger and stronger inside to where we notice them now. And when we notice them, we label them an emotion in the realm of thoughts. So a big way to take away the power of that is to take away the label and to shift into the sensations. That's one way, and everyone's different. So that's just one thing that you can experiment with, but for the sake of the metaphor. Now, we're saying, oh no, I'm feeling that stress, I'm feeling that anxiety, I'm over here now, right? And what happens is, okay, now say it was like the first time we were doing something. Maybe it was the first time we had to present in front of class, right? So now we've created this circuit inside, right? There's a circuit inside, neurons connected. They are in charge of all the systems that makes that program so it can run efficiently. And now here's the program. And now it has a reference point, the first time we had to speak in front of class. So now you can access this in two ways. You can either access it through thinking about speaking in front of class, or you can access it through the feelings, the sensations, right? Like what you were noticing during this. And now imagine the next day, the unconscious sees something in the environment that makes it feel insecure and unsafe and creates another reference point. And it gets a little bit stronger, right? It's kind of like a muscle. So imagine it's like a little stronger. And then imagine the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And soon you've got this really strong program inside your mind, inside your brain, that's wired together, all these neurons, right? And all these different access points to tap into all the power that's contained in this system, right? So, and that's how our muscles work, right? The more you work on a muscle, the more neuromuscular feedback you receive, and the stronger your connections in the muscle become. It's not so much that your muscles being bigger equate to more strength. It's that over time, your muscles become more efficient. And Olympic athletes are around the 90 to 95% efficiency rate for muscles. Whereas me, I might be at 30%, because it really comes down to how much you engage all of these things when you're working with your unconscious. Does this make sense? Right? So the more you engage all of your systems when you're doing a thing, the stronger it becomes, the more potential it has. And the more often you access this, the more you work it out, the more access points it has. Does this make sense? So this is where the roadblocks come in, right? Say you have that circuit, right? It's so strong, it's got all this power. The unconscious, this is what happens too. The unconscious has trust in this. The unconscious feels competent in this. It's like, look at this. Look at what I've worked on. Look at all this power we have in this state. Look at all these different ways we can get to it. I have so much trust and security in my competence of using this. So it begins to go automatic more and more often, right? And this is where the roadblocks come in. Because every time you put up a roadblock, this begins to get weaker. Every time you put up a roadblock, this begins to unwire more and more. Every time you put up a roadblock, you're wiring in new resources, right? This is getting to work out. Every time you put up a roadblock, this is getting more and more access points and more connections. Every time you put up that roadblock, you're creating more and more trust with yourself, because you're learning. And you're learning you have the power, and you're learning you can do something new. You see, every time you put up that roadblock, there's so many ways that you're creating more and more trust inside, making it easier and easier to access and be in the rest and digest state, that putting up those roadblocks will just begin to go automatic, right? And that's kind of how this all works, is that by letting this unwire and rewire into something new, you can make a whole new circuit that keeps you in tune with who you are, so you can be who you need to be, living authentically. It just starts with one step, putting up that roadblock. So I'm very excited for you, because I wish I had this when I was like 8 years old or 15 or 20 years ago, right? So I hope you enjoy it. Be safe, be well, take care.